Real people, real interviews from the certified team of fake news journalists you trust. Hard-hitting questions.
You could be on CNN right now.
I'm not perverted enough, I guess.
Taking you to the cutting edge of truth.
Last Jedi destroyed Star Wars. The prequels are getting better and better as time goes on.
It's time for another interview on the Babylon Bee.
Hey everyone, welcome to a special Babylon Bee interview show.
Yeah, we have a great guest tonight.
Yeah.
Somebody we've wanted for a while. He's the new king of late night.
The king of late night. We finally got one of the late night hosts. We've been trying to get the Jimmys
Yes.
and all of those guys. We finally got the number one rated.
We got the guy who's got higher ratings than all of them. The host of Gutfeld, Greg Gutfeld, is here. We talked to him.
I'm sorry, you mean the host of Gutfeld!
Gutfeld! Exclamation point.
And if you speak Spanish, it's Gutfeld exclamation mark with an upside down exclamation
At the
mark
beginning.
at the beginning.
Yes, that's how it transmits when it's like the Spanish channels. The subtitles, it puts another exclamation point.
But Gutfeld had a lot of great thoughts on comedy, cancel
Yeah.
culture, wokeness, late night hosts, and where that's all going. And some cool stories about Jimmy Fallon and
Yeah.
punching
and
people.
he was fans of ours, and we're fans of his, and we had a great
good
conversation.
Good talk. So let's jump right in.
So do you like doing stuff that's more, as opposed to, parts of your show are scripted and parts of it are off the cuff? You enjoy the stuff that's a little more loose and improvised than what's written ahead of time?
It's a great question because I don't know. I'm a writer. I wasn't in TV. I was a magazine dude. So I'm always tethered to the written word. And when I write stuff, I really, really like it. And then when I get in front of the camera, I regret that I wrote so much. And it's like really, it's like I go like, oh my God, I could have just got, because if you look at ratings, the people, and I don't know how they figured this out, because I was talking to my producer, Tom, I'm going like, how do they know when to tune in? Like they go, oh my God, like all of a sudden your ratings go up because something great happened. That doesn't make sense. But they, like for some reason, when I stop reading something, the stuff goes up, and which means they really like the discussion.
Oh, okay.
They like the people back and forth, maybe because it's more surprising or whatnot. So then I go like, why do I waste all this time? Like for example, the 5 intros for all of us is probably between like 30 and 50 seconds with some sound on tape. I'll write a monologue that's like 4.5, 5 minutes, and I spend way too much time on it in the morning. I drive everybody crazy, and then I'm like going like, why am I doing this? Because I do think the people, they just want to hear everybody bounce off each other. I learned that from the McLaughlin group. That's where I got my, like, I didn't care about anything political basically until I saw the McLaughlin group, and I saw how much fun it was that they were talking about this stuff. And that, like, I also loved John McLaughlin because he had this stentorian, issue 1. Frog. And I just enjoyed that thing, even though I really didn't know what was going on. But I learned a lot. But yeah, so your point is, eventually, I have to start cutting down that stuff, just because I'm getting older and sloppier, and I don't like talking. I don't like reading a lot of stuff. And you notice that as people get older, they just go, "What do you think?" They sit and they just go, "What do you think?" And I'm at that stage where I should just be saying, what do you think?
Well, that's great. It sounds good to be in the position where you're the most highest rated late night host and you don't like to write, talk, or read. So
So I do. There's nothing better than writing.
Yeah.
I love writing. And then you will do a rehearsal and everything sounds great. And then for some reason, when you start including other variables, like the people that are staring at you, and you feel like, I intrinsically feel guilt that I'm wasting people's time all the time when I'm talking. Like, it's like, so you have people and I go like, I want to give Jamie Lissau more time, or Katie Pavlich or whatever. And they have to listen to me, but I don't realize that they're just like happy, to sit there and wait their turn. But I always get like, maybe it's just too much. And, but then I look at Tucker. Tucker will do an entire like 18 to 2-minute block. And I'm glued to it. Even when he gets, when stuff I disagree with or whatever, because it's so well written and the pacing is so good. So that is an argument against it. I mean, I guess you could go. Remember, looking at your background, thinking of like Glenn Beck. Remember Glenn Beck?
Yeah.
Just like for an hour.
Yeah.
You know, and have a chalkboard or whatever, and then he'd bring some people in. But it's like, I don't know. So I guess I'm in the middle. I don't know what I am other than like an energy creating machine. So whatever comes out of my face at that time.
You don't seem very energetic. So we were wondering, the name of your show is Gutfeld, but do we have to shout it every time?
There's an exclamation point at the end.
Gutfeld.
So there's a story behind it, but the story, it's not that great. It's basically, when I would do Red Eye or The Five, there's a sound guy named Tony. And so when they check you in to make sure your mic is there, and he would just yell my name. Like I'd sit down and he'd go, and because like I would be tired after doing The Five, which is hilarious because what am I doing? I'm just sitting at homeroom. But I would, he'd go, Gutfeld! That's what he'd yell at me. And I'd just go like up like this. And it was like a reminder that I was doing a show. And it was like, and so so the original title was The World Screams Gutfeld.
And then it was shortened to just Gutfeld exclamation point.
But I didn't have the guts to say the original title. I love the title. It would say Gutfeld. Okay, so originally it was Gutfeld exclamation point. The World Screams is the subhead that's above it. But then I was thinking, and I don't know if you watch the show that closely. You don't have to, but now the subhead always changes every night. So there's it's like the Simpsons chalkboard. It's like there's always a little thing about me with my perversions or anxieties, and things are up there. But it was originally just going to be The World Screams Gutfeld. And it's because it's so over the top and stupid. No, the world isn't screaming Gutfeld. But then it was this, well, just do Gutfeld exclamation point. And I didn't realize that the exclamation point was going to be like a sticking point for like people at work immediately started making fun of me, like executives. And then of course, Jesse. And I'm like, I go, is it like uncommon to have an exclamation point? Is it too earnest? I just thought it was so silly.
Yeah.
It was just silly, that I'll just do it. And it was great because the critics went after that while I hacked them to death. My numbers, I hacked them to pieces.
Well, it's better than ending it with a question mark, and it's like, Gutfeld?
Although, that's pretty funny. That is pretty funny, because Gutfeld, so what's this?
That's what all the other late night hosts who didn't see you coming up in the ratings to beat them, that's what they're thinking. They're going, Gutfeld?
Yeah, you can predict the Twitter things like, who is that?
Yeah.
Oh, no, what's that? It's like, yes. I go, that's your problem, not mine.
And now
so that's the origin story.
Oh, wow.
That's the origin story.
I don't think that was a bad story at all. I enjoyed hearing where that comes from.
It was okay, yeah.
He's giving it a 5 out of 10 from Kyle.
Yeah. Kyle, it's hard to impress you, Kyle. But before I go any further, we had to like establish that like what big fans we are of you guys. Just people on the Five. And by the way, I was watching the evolution of the Babylon Bee as it was kind of happening. There was a weird period where like your toe was in the water, and I don't even know if I'm explaining this right, but it wasn't what it was. It was something else. It was more. And it still is religious and I would say Christian but it was something that like it all of a sudden went into this place where yes, we're funny. and it wasn't, and so it's like you were like, okay, is this something for people who are religious who go to mass and stuff? But then it's like all of a sudden you start going, that's funny, and then all of a sudden the funny things there were hit and misses, but then they just became hits. And it was just
we still have some misses.
I would say that they're really rare, and it's like you've actually kind of shook the just like the Onion moniker or the description, because that's a great compliment. They're like the Onion, but now you're better than the Onion, because the Onion has lost its. I mean, I don't see. Here's a good measurement. I don't see the Onion's headlines being retweeted anymore. I see Babylon Bee constantly. And that may be because I follow you, but it's also like you also have the people that are changing the world. I mean, you had Elon Musk on, and when you have the most important guy on the planet right now doing, who knows,
Snot.
that's a pretty big deal. So I'm blowing smoke up your
Donkey.
No, continue.
We can do this for the whole hour
Yeah,
if we want.
No, I mean it's a really a great it's a you know what okay, so it goes back to like the Red Eye days and when I was at Huffington Post. My whole philosophy was switching the narrative from the right being Dean, I called it the Dean Wormer effect. And I wrote a piece in the Huffington Post like 15 years ago or so. It was called the Dean Wormer effect. And it was like everything about politics or pop culture was Republicans and Christians were Dean Wormer and everybody else was, the cool people were Animal House, the left. And my goal was one day we're going to flip this, but it's going to be hard and blah, blah, blah. And Red Eye was, in my opinion, the first step. It wasn't that half-hour news hour because they did it the wrong way. It was Red Eye because Red Eye decided. Red Eye was like the Babylon Bee in the sense that you didn't decide that this is what you were going to be. You just were being it. Look at that, the Babylon being it. But like you just kind of, you grew into it. I never said that Red Eye was going to be the Daily Show. I just figured it was going to be something on really late at night that reflected the weirdness of the crap that I was doing at Stuff Magazine and Maxim, really weird stuff. And then that switched. But so the whole thing is, this has been a journey where we have taken the Dean Wormer and the Animal House polarity and we've kind of flipped it. So now you're the Onion, right? And the Onion is gone. The Onion, we don't know what the Onion is there, but it's not. So this is part of the whole flipping. And you're seeing people that are on the right that are having fun. Sometimes it's really embarrassing. Like when we won't name names, but there are young to medium-aged politicians that are trying to be funny on the right, and it's more like owning the libs, and it's silly.
Yeah.
But at least, like, there's life to this, and then what happens is the defense is the hall monitor. So you have like Stelter. You have CNN as this imploding hall monitor. Now it's just like, look at these. Like they are CNN is Dean Wormer. The Democrats are Dean Wormer. Wear your masks. You're killing people if you don't hunker down. That they have. It's weird how like there's only two positions, and if we take one, they become the other. So now it happened. I honestly believe it has happened. That we are now Animal House and they are Dean Wormer. You guys did see Animal House.
Yes.
I'm old.
I understand the references, exactly.
I'm a Christian, so I have not.
Oh, so you saw Porky's.
Yes.
He's a Lutheran, so he's seen it.
I've seen whatever, yeah.
Are you a Lutheran?
I am, yes.
That's interesting. When we grew up, I was Catholic.
Uh-huh.
I never understood what a Lutheran was. But to us, all those things were weird. Protestants, Presbyterians.
Yes.
We had no idea what they were. And we thought that maybe because our parents didn't see their parents on Sunday, that was like an alien species or something had to be mixed.
I've always described myself as a practicing Lutheran, which is basically a non-practicing Catholic. So that's kind of, how it goes.
Yes,
but
yes.
I love that you're fans of. We are such big fans of yours also. And I was always a fan going back to Red Eye. It does feel like what you said where you kind of flipped the script that at some point, it used to feel like sort of the left-wing comics were the ones that were counterculture and punk rock. And now it feels like, especially in this era of cancel culture and free speech, that it's either the right-wing comics or the centrist comics or even mainstream comics like Chappelle or Louis C.K. that are pushing back. They may not be conservative, but they're pushing back against wokeism. That's now the sort of punk rock thing to do.
There's two things in there that, okay, so this is where I don't want to sound like I'm name dropping, but I am name dropping. The punk. So I'm 57. All the people that I adored in my music world was from, I'd say, 75 to 81. So that's all. That was the punk universe. All of them are on our side now, and I won't say who they are, but I talk to them. I know that there are people that text me during the 5 that if my 14 or 15-year-old self had seen it, would not have slept for the next 40 years. It's a tragedy that all the people that I adore are now super old and like me and wouldn't have liked me back then. Yeah. But honestly, there are bands that that are like, they are all over metal and punk. it just, I mean, it's mind-blowing. And not just that too, but I like Jose Feliciano, like he actually wrote me, he did Feliz Navidad with my name in it because I asked him to. And then you have like the dude from Deep Purple, Richie Blackmore. And then you have X. Then you have X. And you have obviously Johnny Rotten. See, I am name dropping, but I don't tell you the extent of it, but it's pretty amazing.
Well, I'm glad you got to the names because at first it was like anonymous name dropping. It was like, I know people, I won't tell you who they are, but trust me, I got some names I can drop.
That's actually such a great idea, the anonymous name dropper. But, and then, okay, so you talk about the punk thing. This is what we're doing is essentially punk. We're tearing up the script. It's funny because punk was a reaction to progressive rock, and in a way that we're a reaction to progressivism. That I just came up with now on the fly. That's improvisation. No, but anyway, but the other thing is about the comedians is that the ones that are being really shy about this are, I think the best example is Sarah Silverman, who immediately went with the woke and is now seeing that it's eating her up. She got in trouble for something. So now she's seeing that this is a problem. And what you're getting instead of a fight, they're saying, you know what, I've had it. I'm just getting out of this. I can't deal with it. And it's like, no, actually, you should deal with it. And the people that are dealing with it are actually winning. The comedians that are coming on my show see their ticket sales go up when they're traveling. Doesn't happen on Kimmel, Colbert, or Fallon. But when they come on my show, the loyalty is so strong. You come on this show. And we got great numbers. People there. And did you see that survey? More Democrats watch Tucker and the Five than CNN. I think Gutfeld's number 4. But that's kind of interesting. So you're getting. I said today that we're drinking their milkshake, and a cultural reference to There Will Be Blood.
Yes.
I've seen that one.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about those numbers because, you know, you're sort of seeing now, a lot of people know that you're beating these other late night shows in the ratings, but it shows that you're trending well among Democrats as well, that there are kind of people that aren't just, you know, sort of in the tank for your side that are also watching this.
Yeah, you can use the Howard Stern thing, which is that they're hate
watching you. Yes.
But I wonder if it's just that the political affiliations are not as deep as we think it is. It's like, I can't believe you're a Democrat. It's like, or I can't believe it's like, I just ticked that box and I never really changed it. Or I'm like, not that I don't even think about politics until one day out of 4 years. And I think like, I look at my parents were both Democrats, but they voted for Reagan, I think both times. And I think maybe there's a little bit of, maybe these Democrats are more Republican than we know, but still that would also might apply to CNN and MSNBC too. But I think that has a lot to do with maybe the quality of the programming. It's just better and it's more interesting. And also, we can laugh about the 5 is 4-1, but on CNN and MSNBC, it's 5-0. They don't have the dissenting voice anymore they used to, but we have, and also there's a weird spectrum on the 5. It's where, I'm right on guns, but I'm way left on drugs. And then it's weird. It's like with me and Judge Shanine being on, like, we disagree on so much stuff, but it's okay.
Yeah.
But, because she's hot. I just want that taken out of context. We're trying to come up with out of context theater. Did it once on Gutfeld, on the weekly show, out of context theater, where we have something totally benign, but then show you where you can pick it. But it was a lot of work. It's a great skit, and you could just pick like the 4 things, like I like to eat children, something, but it would be like, it would be in a greater thing. I don't know. I like to eat children's vitamins because they're easy to digest. And it could be like, I like to eat children because they're easy to digest. But anyway, it was a good idea, and I don't know why I'm talking about it, but that's because of drinking.
The important thing is that we got Gutfeld saying he likes to eat children. Now
we can use that out of context now because you've said it here. Yeah.
Well, speaking of eating children and drugs and all that, and women being hot, you have a conservative audience, and despite a lot of Democrats tuning in, you do have a large conservative base. Do you get a lot of hate mail? Do you get a lot of people that think that you go too far? We experienced this at the Babylon Bee, having a conservative Christian
audience.
We're
a Christian organization, but every time we say the word vagina or the word sex, it's like there's just emails saying you're disgusting.
And we say it all the time. Yeah.
It's what it is? It's the blessing of attracting a family. So I have to remind it's really funny. The 5 is the best example of this because at 5 o'clock, families are watching that. I know this because the whole impetus behind Animals Are Great was an experiment to annoy people. It was like, I bet if I do something for kids with a weird jingle, Animals Are Great, it will get the kids and drive everybody crazy. And it did. It's phenomenally popular on the 5. It's the most popular thing aside from the show is Animals Are Great because the kids are singing it. Harold Ford's kids, that's all they talk about. They don't even know what I'm saying. My point is, so you understand that you're getting the people you want to get, but you're also getting their values, the people that are in the room. And when you're on Rachel Maddow or Don Lemon or whatever, there's no kids in the room. There's none of that background. It's you could make all kinds of now I don't factor that in when I do Gutfeld, but I get stuff about jokes about drugs. And that's a conversation that I would like to have with every person who complains, but I can't. It's it's not funny when you joke about drugs. And I go, well, you have to watch the fact that I talk seriously about this stuff all the time. And I think that the way that we're dealing with drugs is deadlier than the way we're not dealing with it. But I can't do that with everybody. But I do understand that they grew up. It's weird though, because if you're 60 right now, you grew up with drugs. If you're 70, you grew up with drugs. So it's who's the 95-year-old? And they're still there that are still saying why do you keep making those pot jokes? Also, they don't understand a lot of and it is repetitive. The insults to Cat or Kilmeade. There are people that do believe that me and Kilmeade hate each other, and it's so obvious we don't. But it's because they don't, they're not used to roasts. So these are not people that watch comedy roasts. So it's the first time when I'm sitting there and I'm just making fun of Cat and this hypothetical and unproven drug use or how, but it's that's a roasty thing. And people don't, this is a group that's new to this stuff. So they think why are you so mean to these people? You really upset. They always say, they always write to me, you really upset her. The swearing is an issue. We bleep it out. But I do get a lot of stuff for swearing. But the other flip side of this is I call this the naughty appreciation. And I learned this when I would go over to my friend's house and my friend had, brothers and sisters. And if they said anything bad, their parents who were strictly Catholic would they'd get in so much trouble. But if I said it, it'd be so naughty. You're so naughty. And I realized that on the 5, I can get away with saying, today I said something about Toobin, which was so easy. Jesse said that maybe Zucker got off easy. And I said, well, so did Toobin. And it was such a silly Michael Scott type joke. But it's the producer, groans in my ear, but it's everybody, including their grandmother at home, just goes, oh, he's so naughty. He's a naughty boy. So if you can just kind of ride, if you can ride that harmlessness as opposed to kind of creepiness, then you're good. None of my jokes are I will admit when I get creepy and I go, ooh, that sounds weird. And I go, I didn't mean it to sound weird. But it generally, I try to overcome that stuff. But I'd say that it's always an increasingly smaller number, if that makes sense, of people that are offended because they get used to it or they understand that it's not meant the way they think it means. But I do think the swearing is an issue. And I actually try to tone that back because that's easy to tone back. And I think people do get upset about my constant jokes about Brian Stelter's weight, but there's a philosophy behind that if this is a person, the worst thing you can be called in life is a racist in 2022. He's done that. And that is something that you cannot change. If somebody calls you a racist, that's stuck on you. It's a brand. So all bets are off. if you're going to call my friends and anybody at Fox a racist, I'm going to call you a fat pig. And by the way, you can change that. So it's like, there's nothing worse. Like, you can't tell me, like, I've heard, but he's very sensitive about his weight. I go, well, you know what? We're sensitive about being called racists, right? I'd rather have you call me fat than a bigot. Although there's some people that might feel differently.
I don't get the tubin getting off joke. Can you explain that?
It's it actually, you know what? It's actually not even that good of a joke because he didn't get off easy.
He was interrupted.
This kind of doesn't that tell you that the CNN story is a lie? That it isn't about this relationship. It's about the intermingling of that woman with the Cuomo camp. So it's not just about Chris Cuomo helping Andrew Cuomo. It's about that girl and Jeff Zucker helping out Cuomo, because the fact that he's saying I have to resign because of a 20-year relationship, and then she says we got closer during COVID. None of that is true. Like they've been. I like the phrase "open secret." They've been an open secret forever. But well, if that's the case, then why are they being? There's something else that's coming out, and it's like this is great because Chris Cuomo is like, I think Dana said it today on the 5. There was a sign that he had a sharpened knife ready to go, and this is it. It was the involvement of this woman, and she's she's in a relationship with her, because you cannot believe that a relationship between two divorced adults would cause you to resign because you didn't register with HR. That didn't happen. I don't even know how they thought that we would believe that, but I almost did. But I'm going like, wow, is that true? Could that really happen? I'm like, wait a minute.
Jack Wagon.
In front of
Congratulations, the first time the phrase
Jack
has
Wagon
been used on the Babylon.
And now you said it twice.
And now it's been used twice.
I've been doing that on the 5 a lot. I've been introducing words that haven't been used. I said
Jack Wagon
yesterday. I think that's the first time. And I said it in a way that you can't believe. I said, wow, I almost called Justin Trudeau a
Jack Wagon.
So I didn't call him one. I said I almost called him one. It almost came out of my mouth.
I feel like we should start a challenge with you where the Babylon Bee sends you words that we try to get onto the 5.
I would love that challenge. Anything. By the way, I know that you guys have a brand, but I would love to do stuff with you. And any time. And I think I've actually, maybe it wouldn't have been you guys directly, but I approached you guys a couple of times about doing stuff. But I think it was like so complicated, or you guys weren't interested. But it was about like trying to.
We'd definitely be interested. We'd love to collaborate.
Adam was the one who said we weren't interested. I'm very interested.
I turned it down. I was like, no, get this out of there.
I talked to, I had my producers like contact, because we didn't like the thing about, you guys is that we don't know who does the writing. Who does these things? And then I'm like thinking to myself, I go, sometimes it could be like how we used to do captions and stuff, and Max, and there's like you send a picture around or a story and people write onto them, and then somebody at the end picks the best one. It could have been that way, or it could have been somebody who does it alone. But anyway, we actually thought hard enough about that. So we were going, and that was before the launch of Gutfeld. That was like probably a month or so behind that launch date, and but it was hard to figure out who to talk to at that point. I even had. Who's the dude? The business guy on my show.
Seth Dillon?
Yeah. That was right when the show started, I think. But I didn't talk to him about anything because I didn't, I don't know what line I shouldn't cross.
Well, you guys actually sent me a thing saying, do you want to contribute writing for Gutfeld? And so
it was you.
It was me, and so I.
It was you and somebody else. But then what did you say?
I said sure, and I clicked on the application link. I filled out an application, and you guys sent me a rejection letter.
Flower bed.
That is hysterical. I did not know that. So what happened was, what ended up happening was, somebody on my behest got you, and then. You ended up going through the bureaucratic.
I clicked the link or whatever they sent me. Yeah,
and I thought it was you guys. So I'm like, wow, these guys are really into themselves.
I never got an offer from you guys, but when I left Ellen in June, before I started working for you guys, I emailed one of your producers also and said, "Hey, I'd love to work there." And I never heard anything back.
But
we would love to collaborate.
Oh, I would think it would be awesome, and that's crazy.
Yeah,
that is so fun because I'll just like hire you now. This is like, because I need
Seth isn't gonna like this.
It's like we're doing a Zoom interview, you know, writers are hard to come by. You guys are great, and that's why it's like Fox should try to buy you.
Do you guys you want to make an offer right now? I mean, we'll.
Then they would hate. Then your brand would be hated by people that you would actually want to court. Like you could probably still get so many more people if you weren't affiliated with me. But I'm pushing this. That's great. Stupid. Really stupid. That's happened before. It's happened before with people. They get lost in the world and.
We could just interview right here. Like, what are your 3 greatest strengths and 3 greatest?
Yes, this is going to turn into a job interview.
I want to go, but first I have to go over some of your tweets.
Yes, problematic.
Yes, they're I'm not saying they're offensive. I'm just saying they're problematic, which is worse than offensive.
Yes,
because problematic is just endless. So.
Well, it's interesting that you bring up like offense and things that are problematic, because I know in your book, it's from several years ago, the Joy of Hate, How to Triumph in what was an era of phony outrage.
That was, I think that's 11 years ago.
Yeah, but a lot of what you talk about there, I remember you had a line where you said something like tolerance masks fascism, and you talk a lot about the way this sort of ideal of fake tolerance was used to silence people, to discredit other people. And it seems like in some ways since then, it got worse for several years. But now with these sort of independent platforms taking off and sort of mainstream people like Dave Chappelle or Joe Rogan taking a stand, do you feel like more optimistic or pessimistic about where we're at now? Do you think it's kind of the tide is starting to change at all?
Yes. In the sense that when I read or even say the things that I'm saying, I feel like a cliche. Like when I start talking about cancel culture, I go, oh, I'm now the guy that's like, remember the guy that goes,
Razor.
Politically correct. Now it's like, oh, here come the cancel culture. It's like, I think it's gotten to a point, like making fun of the woke is almost trite.
Oh, interesting.
Because I think that it becomes such a joke. And and like all that's, it's kind of like, now you have people like Tim Dillon, which are like liberals, but are just the sensibilities are so anti-woke. It's amazing. I do think it has gotten a lot better, but we never know until something new comes along.
Yeah.
I didn't think anything could be worse than the PC culture. And then but the woke culture was like this
snot
offspring or a direct offspring. But yes, I know that it's gotten better because the stuff that I wrote sounds trite. Like it sounds kind of like it's been done to
it does feel kind of tired to like talk about cancel culture because so many people are talking about it and bashing it.
And when you have Mika Brzezinski today attributing, Whoopi Goldberg to cancel culture, it's like, all right, so now when that dimwit is using it, then it's officially over.
Dead.
You have to declare it over.
And that
Taylor Swift decides to do that.
And it may be helping to kill also like with somebody like Whoopi Goldberg, where it's coming back to kind of eat their own, where she's someone who's kind of advocated for other people being censored or canceled. And it's kind of what people on the right were warning all the time. Like eventually they're going to eat you alive. And now that's what's happening.
I swear that was like part of Joy of Hate. And I think it's like, because I know working with people every day that they get tired of hearing
snot
that I say. And I get tired of hearing, like, it's like, I say this so much that I'm tired of myself. But I've said that, it's like, it's going to come for you. I swear to God. And it's like, I would say this after I would forgive somebody for something. And I go, you should be doing this too, because they're going to come for you. So you got to learn to be like, you got to forgive those that you don't like, not just the people you like. So Mika was like defending Whoopi, but it's like she wouldn't. That's easy. That would be like me defending Dana. I got to defend somebody as loathsome as Keith Olbermann.
You have to defend Jeffrey Toobin. Do it right now.
I could. I would say that. I would say, here's how I would defend Jeffrey Toobin.
You need to take the hat off for this.
Who hasn't almost been in that situation? where like, okay, for example, like I have this thing, watch it. I close it, see, and then I open it and I close it. And I do that for a reason because like, I don't know where I am or what and it's like I don't even know how I'm defending him now.
What were you doing when you just closed
I don't know.
Yes, I was afraid you were going to do a magic thing where you do that and then you're naked when it spills off. Like, this is all he did, but
no, but I would say that it was a mistake. But what's interesting about that is that there might be a whole nother story there, like on why he wasn't fired, because whoever was on the receiving end might also have been at CNN. So that's like a thing that no one ever really approached. It's like, oh my God, he was, pleasuring himself to porn, but it might not have been that. It might have been he was with another engaged and consensual partner, and that person could also have been a woman who worked at CNN, and they didn't want that. I'm saying this is all as hypothetical or whatever.
Hacksaw.
But I'm just saying that it was interesting that they could, because if they fired him, maybe they would have had to fire somebody else, and that somebody else would have had a case or something. You know what I mean?
I feel like you should do a podcast just on your CNN sex scandal conspiracy theories.
I said that today during the break. I got a whole hour on this stuff. Human beings are biological creatures that have desires, and I don't. That's what the thing that bugged me about the Zucker thing is that he should have been fired for his terrible content.
Yes.
Dividing a country
and
for terrible ratings. There's like 17 things he should be fired for. The Russia collusion stuff, anti-police, pro-crime. And I'm short, I'm making these, but you can validate all of these. Not for like a consensual relationship with, and even, let's say they were married. Still like you can clean that's they're still adults and it screws people over and the families, but that's still a personal thing. Adults do really, even religious people do really crappy things because we got this thing inside us that is designed to make us procreate, and when it takes control of you, you can't even tell the time of day. I'm not speaking from experience. There's a certain kind of time loss. There's a time loss whenever you get involved in biological events, whether it's eating or sex. You don't even know what time. It's like, how long were we doing this? How long have I been eating these hoagies?
Coming up next, for Babylon Bee subscribers.
You once planned to build a gay bar next to the Ground Zero Mosque.
Do you ever hear from the other late night hosts that are on the other side of the political spectrum?
The only interaction I think I've ever had was with Jimmy Fallon.
This has been another edition of the Bee Weekly from the dedicated team of certified fake news journalists you can trust here at the Babylon Bee, reminding you that AOC is definitely the worst, but we would totally date her if we could.